a ceasefire does appear to be holding between the Syrian government and the Druze Arab minority group after days of deadly clashes. It is, though, unclear whether that truce will last. You can see Syrian military vehicles leaving Suwaida in southern Syria, where clashes first erupted last weekend. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara says his country is not afraid of war, but agreed to a renewed ceasefire to protect his people, he said.
The Israeli entity, known for its repeated attempts to destabilize us and sow division, once again seeks to turn our land into a battlefield of chaos and to dismantle the fabric of our people.
Well, the truce followed intervention from the United States, as well as these Israeli strikes on the Syrian capital, with Israel saying it was acting on Wednesday to protect the Druze. Well, more now from CNN's Jeremy Diamond.
Israeli bombs rock the Syrian capital of Damascus, striking the defense ministry in an area near the presidential palace. At least 3 people were killed and 34 injured in the strikes, according to the country's health ministry. The defense headquarters suffering a serious blow, but the true cost of these strikes may not yet be known, threatening to derail new U.S.-brokered security talks between Israel and Syria.
We think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and arriving at a situation there in the Middle East is far more stable.
The attacks came after days of clashes in Syria's southern city of Suwaida between Bedouin tribes and the Druze community, a religious minority whose members also live in Israel and Lebanon. Dozens of people have been killed in the clashes in recent days. Syrian troops soon entered Suwaida, with the government saying it was looking to stop the violence. But some Druze leaders saw the approach of government forces as a threat. And so did Israel, which struck approaching Syrian tanks, rocket launchers, and trucks carrying weapons, saying it was acting to prevent a massacre against the Druze. But Israel isn't just striking to protect the Druze.
We are committed to keeping southwestern Syria a demilitarized zone.
Israeli troops captured this buffer zone between Syria and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights after the fall of the Assad regime last year. But Israel has also demanded Syrian troops remain out of southern Syria altogether. In the Israeli-held Golan Heights, the large Syrian Druze community here is deeply impacted by attacks on the Druze in Suwaida.
My wife is in Syria, my uncles are from Syria, and my family is in Syria, in Suwaida. I don't like to see them being killed. They kicked them out of their homes, they robbed and burned their houses, but I can't do anything. It's very hard on me.
That sense of helplessness driving hundreds of Druze to take matters into their own hands, pouring across an Israeli security fence and into the Syrian buffer zone on the road to Suwaida. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Jerusalem.
Well, Shadi Abu Karam is a Syrian Druze and political analyst. He joins us now from Berlin for his perspective. And Reda Mansour, an Israeli Druze and former Israeli ambassador, joining us from Isfahan. Thanks both for joining us. Shadi, let's start with you. Firstly, are you and your family okay? And has anyone you know been impacted by these clashes?
First, thank you for asking. Gladly, my family are okay and are safe. This morning, we received some images from our village. My home and our shops got burned, but we don't care about material losses. We're really saddened for the loss of the lives, and let me honor all the martyrs of Suwaida, the provenance, fighting for the dignity of this land. This is the only province refused to get involved in this bloodbath in Syria, and now it's paying this the price of that choice.
And just how is the community feeling at present?
I cannot explain how bad, how outrageous they feel, how angry they feel now after what happened, because we thought, for what we did for the last 15 years, for not participating in this war and to open our doors, to refuge all the people coming from different places in Syria. We thought that will be, I don't want to say like a justification to stay out of this war, but like what happened was a shock because we didn't call for this war. We didn't need it. We were all the time calling. We need to be like a one state, one respectful state built on one constitution, respect everyone in Syria. None of Druze leader or Druze public figure or political figures were calling, to federalization or like even like till recent, after what happened in coastal region, some started to call for the international community, to protect people, and not just in Sweden, in Syria.
Right.
Let me be clear.
Yeah. Ambassador Rader, let me bring you in. Israel intervened, it says, to protect the Druze community, which is a community split on whether or not they wanted support from Israel. Israel attacked Syrian government buildings in Damascus as well. What do you make of the official line from Benjamin Netanyahu as to his intentions? And do you believe that this has made the Druze, and you're an Israeli Druze yourself, feel safer, or has this sadly just unleashed more chaos?
Yeah, well, Becky, I want you to know that the images that we've been seeing in the last 3 days here in Israel, in the Druze community and in the general Israeli public, are images of a Druze genocide, not less than that. We are watching groups of jihadis shouting that they want to convert the Druze, they want to exterminate the heretics, burning holy places, going into the central hospital of Sweda, killing the doctors, the nurses, and the sick people in the hospital. Everybody was slaughtered. This is the kind of images that we are seeing from Israel here. And I want to tell you that if something moved the Israeli conscience for this attack to happen, is the scene of that elder sheikh, Druze sheikh, that was, his mustache was cut. He was 8 years old. And in the Jewish Israeli imagery, this is immediately turned on the Holocaust memories. The first thing that the Nazis did is to cut the beards of Jewish rabbis. So the Israeli response in a great sense wasn't about strategy, about long-term interest. It was emotional. It was seeing the Druze in Israel in agony, hurting, don't know what to do.
Right.
We called on the Israeli government to intervene. They asked al-Shara government to stop immediately these attacks. They did not respond. And so Israel escalated until he understood that Israel will not stop until he calls his forces back to other areas of Syria.
Shadi, you've just heard the ambassador's view there. What are your thoughts on Israel's involvement?
I firmly reject any justification for Israeli intervention, and we condemn Tel Aviv using Sweda as a pretext to expand its ongoing aggression against other parts in Syria. What happened, Israeli bombed some tanks and armored vehicles after, let's say, over 30 hours of all the convoys were going to Sweda. So if Israeli forces were really into protecting Druze, they would bomb these convoys before they arrived to Sweda. But what happened, it's a rule of engagement was forced by Israeli forces after Bashar al-Assad ran away, that it was an official agreement, but it was forced on Ahmed al-Shara state, that there was no heavy vehicle, no tanks, nothing, and they are now escalating to disarm all the south region. So it was not in favor of Druze. Israelis, they're not protecting Druze. They are using this. Israeli, they didn't bomb Syria 2 days ago. They have been bombing Syria for years and years now. And this is just like a use of another political leverage of what happened now in Syria.